What is up there, guys? My name is Oscar and welcome to my Stock Market Hustler channel, where we talk about nothing but personal finance, entrepreneurship, stocks, and just a whole lot of more other different ways to just get some money. So be sure to hit the subscription button down there and make sure you're hitting the notification button at the same time so you stay tuned to more videos. Now, in today's topic, I want to discuss what are CDs or certificate of deposits. And no, I'm not talking about these CDs, guys, okay? I know some of you might not even know what these are, but I'm not talking about these. So let's not get carried away, okay? Alright. So what are CDs or certificate of deposits, better yet? Well, they're one of the most safest investments that a bank or a credit union has to offer. They typically pay a higher interest than a savings account or a money market account. Now, while they seem like a very safe investment, the only problem with the CD is that you basically lock up your money for a set period of time. Although it is possible to get out early, but we'll discuss that down the road on this video. So, now, how do CDs work? Again, they're a form of a time deposit. So basically, to a bank, in exchange for the higher interest, you basically keep your money locked up for at least maybe a 6-month period, a year, an 18-month period, or even more in exchange for the high interest rate. So to reward you for your patience, a bank is willing to offer you a higher interest rate back on your money. So you basically get a higher APY on the funds you deposit. So why might a bank pay you more money on top of you giving them money, you might ask? Well, it's simply because they know they can use your money for longer term investments such as loans and whatnot. And they know that you won't be needing that money anytime soon. So they're willing to pay a little higher interest in order to keep borrowing your money for that set period of time that you put. Now, how do you go about getting a CD? It's simple. You can easily contact your local bank, credit union, or just walk in person. If not, try checking online. All these different types of ways will definitely help you on deciding which CD is best suited for you and your needs and your financial goals at the same time. Then you simply tell them how much you want to put away, how long you want to keep that money, and just ask about different CD products at the same time and what fees they might have to offer at the same time. And we'll discuss that down the road on this video, like I mentioned earlier before, at the same time. Now, I encourage you guys to definitely ask the bank all these type of questions because they might have different options other than a CD that might best interest you and your money. So it's best to explore different options that they might offer in case the CD might not be for you. Now, when you open a CD, you have the options to choose how long you're going to want to keep your money locked up. Now, this time period is called the term. And there are definitely many different terms. Now, the most common ones are obviously going to be 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and maybe up to 5 years, which is 60 months. So these are just some of the most common ones, but there are definitely more longer term option ones. So be sure to ask your bank about this also. Now, when you go about either short-term CDs or long-term CDs, you would normally think that the long-term ones are better simply because you'll get a higher return rate on them. Now, that's not always the case also. For starters, and this is one thing I highly warn you guys right now before buying CDs, is to make sure you have enough money to cover any expenses or emergencies on the side. Because again, with the CD, you're going to be locking your money in for a set period of time. And the banks won't like this if you're going to need your money earlier than you had deposited the time frame for. So again, please be careful, guys. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you put money aside, like I said again, and just be careful. Because who knows in the long term if you're going to need that money down the road. You might not need it this year, but you never know if you're going to end up using it next year or 2 years from now or 10 years from now. So again, I highly advise you have an emergency fund set aside just to cover anything that you might need in the near future, okay? Now, if you decide to pull out for any reason or any type of emergency before your time period ends, you're gonna have to go up to your bank and tell them you want to withdraw early. Now, in some rare cases, they might deny this request, and that's gonna be really bad, especially if you're gonna need that money ASAP. But that's gonna be really rare, so it might not happen to you at all. But on top of withdrawing your money really early, you're gonna have to pay a penalty fee. Now, pay attention right here, guys, because this part is really crucial, okay? When I say that they're gonna charge you this penalty fee might just end up eating into your whole interest that you had with that CD. So if you had it for 4 years or whatever, and you gained some money, I mean, withdrawing that money with that penalty fee, it might just end up eating into your earnings, and you might have just gained nothing. If anything, it might eat up into your initial deposit. So on top of just not gaining money, you're also going to be owing money to them. This is something I really stress out that you got to be careful with, guys. Again, make sure you have that emergency fund because you don't want to be paying these penalty fees and then owing money on top of you needing it in an emergency. So please be careful, okay? Now, at the end of the CD term, the CD matures and you have to decide what you want to do with it next. Now, as you approach the date near the end of your CD term, your bank or local credit union is going to call you up real quick and they're going to ask you what you want to do with it from there. So they will give you different options on what you can do, what you shouldn't do, And from here, it's just going to be all on you and what you're going to want to do with your own money after you gain some of that return. Now, let's say you decide to do nothing or you end up forgetting about it. Most times they'll just reinvest it back again into the same term and everything that you had it at initially, and it will just continue back on from that point on. For example, if you're in a 6-month CD and you did nothing after that term ended, they're just going to put it back into another 6 months for you. Now, one important thing to note about this is that the interest rate may be different when they do this. So it might be lower or it might be higher. There's no guarantee of what your interest rate is going to be every time you buy one of these CDs. So again, it's important you know what you're going to do with it before that term ends. Because if they reinvest it and they put in a lower interest rate, then it might just not be worth it in the end. But again, please pay attention to what you're doing with your CDs, guys. So it's important to notify your bank on what you want to do with it. And from there, you can basically transfer your CD back into your savings or checking account. Or you can talk to your bank again and discuss a different term, maybe a shorter term or a longer term for your money. It just really all depends on you guys. That's all it is. Now, some strategies for using these CDs. Now, you would think that using long-term CDs are always going to be the best option, but that's not always going to be the case here. Because you see, now let's say you buy a 5-year interest rate on a CD at maybe, I don't know, 1.5% or something. Now, a year later or something, the bank might offer that same interest term, and it might be, I don't know, 2.5% this time. So because you have your money locked up into your CD already since last year, you can't lock into that higher interest because it's locked in. So going the long term isn't always the best option, especially if you want to make the most out of your money with these CDs. So you might be better off buying some short-term CDs just in case you don't want to miss some of these higher interest rates. And one last thing you can do with some of these CDs as a strategy is maybe mixing some here and there. Maybe you buy one for 5 years and then you buy a few other shorter term ones just so you won't miss on all the higher interest down the road. That way your money isn't all locked up into just one, and now you can diversify it into different ones so you can gain the most out of your money. Plus, it also helps with avoiding, cashing out early and paying some penalty fees, especially if you got your money locked up all in one, at least with some of the shorter ones. Once those end, if you need that money, you have that money right there at your disposal so you don't have to touch your longer term options out there. Now, the safety of a CD. Again, these are basically similar to a savings account. But unlike a savings account, you just keep your money locked in. Now, assuming your deposits are FDIC insured, you're basically government guaranteed to get your money back no matter what happens to the bank. So therefore, you basically have nothing to lose with these CDs. And it gives you a better peace of mind knowing that your money is in a good position for the long term, no matter what happens. Now, that's about as safe as you can get with any investment, guys. Any much safer, and you're basically hiding your money under your mattress. I mean, come on. Doesn't get much safer than that. And it's safer than ETFs, buying individual stocks, real estate, or anything like that. So if you're really a low risk tolerant person, then CDs might be a good option for you. But again, I highly advise you go to your local banks or credit unions and ask them the specific questions that you might have for a CD. And really, just to get the maximum return on your money, be sure to go to different banks, see how much interest rates they have, what they have to offer. Maybe this one has a 1% interest, that one might have a 3% interest. I mean, you never know. If anything, I highly recommend you guys checking online banks that have CDs. Because with online banks, since they don't have physical buildings, they use that money to pay you back even more interest. So I would highly suggest looking into those if you're interested. But again, to each his own. I'm not going to force you to check these things, guys. So please do your proper research when doing this. And make sure you're asking these questions that I mentioned earlier in the video. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. I hope you learned a few things on CDs. Again, not these, guys. Not these. These are no. But yes, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments, be sure to leave me a comment down below on the video, guys. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. And as always, for any new visitors, if you haven't hit the subscription button, be sure you hit subscribe. And also hit that little notification bell as always. Anyway, guys, I'll see you guys on the next video.